Chelsea stood backstage under the glaring lights of the studio, her heart pounding as she waited for the countdown to the Friday night special of Beyond the Gates. Just a few weeks ago, she had been consumed by the mystery of the labyrinth and challenges, her mind trained on puzzles and alliances, not on romance. But then Madison appeared effortlessly charming, impossibly confident, and in an instant the world she thought she knew shifted on its axis. Their first conversation had been electric, a casual exchange about the show's latest trial that spiraled into laughter, shared glances, and a moment where time itself seemed to pause. From that instant, something deeper sparked between them, a current of possibility that Chelsea felt in her bones. Yet excitement is a double-edged sword, capable of lifting you higher than ever and plunging you further than you ever dared imagine. Now, as she adjusted the microphone on her collar, she wondered if she was ready to risk everything on this uncharted territory of the heart. Their date was set for that evening, right after the main event aired. The producers had assured them the cameras would stay off until they were ready, but Chelsea knew better than to trust the illusion of privacy in a world built on spectacle. Every stolen smile, every whispered word, would eventually find its way into the narrative, and she hoped had no prayed that what unfolded would be worth the scrutiny. When Madison finally appeared, his easy grin met hers like a challenge. Could she keep up with him, not just on the course, but in the dance of intimacy? They started with dinner at a rooftop terrace overlooking the city lights, the same skyline that had once felt so distant and cold, now warm and inviting under the soft glow of lanterns. Conversation flowed naturally, future dreams, unexpected fears, even old scars revealing layers of vulnerability she'd kept hidden since childhood. It felt too good, almost unreal, and sometimes the sweetest moments come with the darkest risks. As the evening unfolded, Chelsea felt the walls she'd erected around her heart begin to crumble. She laughed at Madison's sly jokes, caught herself leaning in closer than necessary, and marveled at how easily he seemed to understand the pieces of her no one else had seen. But her instinct warned her not to fall so fast. She'd seen romances ignite and burn out within the compressed, artificial world of the show, where emotions are magnified for the cameras and alliances can turn to ashes overnight. Was this any different? Was Madison genuinely drawn to her essence, or simply to the version of Chelsea that shone under the studio lights? The question lingered like smoke, and for the first time, she didn't have an answer. The next day, whispers began to circulate through the contestants' lounge. Madison, it seemed, had been spotted elsewhere at least twice, sharing coffee and laughter with another contestant, Lily, whose bright energy had made her popular among the crew. Chelsea's stomach twisted when one of her closest allies, Ricardo, pulled her aside with a tentative look. "You sure you want to hear this?" he asked. Her jaw tightened. "Tell me." "I saw Madison and Lily hugging tight after the sprint challenge," Ricardo said, then winced. "And I'm not talking about a friendly consolation hug." Chelsea's breath caught. She forced herself to nod, her mind racing through every interaction she'd had with Madison in the last 48 hours. Nothing concrete, just a flutter of suspicion. But sometimes suspicion is all you need to start unraveling the truth. That night, Chelsea confronted Madison as they prepped for the evening's game. His eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with a hint of guilt. "I can explain," he began, but Chelsea cut him off. The cameras rolled without mercy as tension crackled between them. Other contestants paused to watch the drama unfold, drawn by the irresistible pull of scandal. "Explain what?" Chelsea demanded, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "That you're juggling two interests at once? That will you promise exclusivity? You sneak behind my back." Madison ran a hand through his hair. "You know you're not the only one who values connection here. Lily and I, don't you dare compare what you had with her to what we're building," Chelsea snapped. In that moment, she realized she was no longer the cautious strategist. She was a woman betrayed, and betrayal demanded a reckoning. Fueled by a surge of righteous anger, Chelsea hatched a plan. She wouldn't simply walk away wounded. She would shape the narrative, reclaim her power, and expose Madison's duplicity in a way he'd never forget. At the challenge briefing the following morning, When the host called for a partner reveal, Chelsea strode to the platform, Madison trailing behind, eyes wide with apprehension. The audience leaned in, sensing the confrontation. "I'd like to nominate Madison," she began, her voice echoing through the tent. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "As my partner," she finished. Relief washed over Madison's face for a split second until Chelsea held up her phone, playing a video clip recorded discreetly in the lounge. There, plain as day, were Madison and Lily sharing more than just strategy. The crowd erupted, and Madison's face paled under the harsh lights. "Why did you do that?" he spluttered, but Chelsea's expression was cold. "Because I deserve honesty," she replied. "Because trust isn't a game you get to play on your terms." The host, sensing a shift, allowed the moment to breathe before moving on, but the damage was done. Beyond the Gates had its drama, and Chelsea had delivered the fiercest twist of the season. Madison's attempts to explain himself turned to stammered apologies that rang hollow. Lily, caught in the crossfire, fled the spotlight, tears streaking her makeup. Chelsea watched them go, her bravado mixing with an unexpected ache. Revenge felt powerful in the moment, but as the cameras panned to her face, she recognized something more profound. A line had been crossed, one that would change her and Madison irrevocably. In the aftermath, alliances shifted. Some admired Chelsea's boldness, others whispered about her ruthlessness. Madison retreated into a corner of self-pity, his usual charm gone. And Chelsea. She realized that standing up for herself had released something she couldn't contain. Anger had given her clarity. She would no longer let anyone treat her heart as a plaything. As the contestants prepared for the next trial, Chelsea's gaze hardened with resolve. She had come to Beyond the Gates seeking victory in puzzles and physical feats, but she was leaving a different arena altogether, where emotions could be the deadliest challenge. Whether Madison ever redeemed himself was no longer her concern. She had proven her strength, asserted her worth, and rewritten the rules of her own story. And in a world built on performance, that had never felt more real. The aftermath of Chelsea's public reckoning reverberated through the compound like the echo of a gong. Cameras lingered on Madison's shattered composure and Lily's retreating silhouette, but Chelsea barely registered their humiliation. Her pulse pounded with a raw aliveness she'd never felt before, equal parts exhilaration and anguish. She told herself she'd done what she had to, that exposing the betrayal was her only recourse. Yet in the quiet moments, when the cheering crowds dispersed and the studio lights dimmed, a hollow ache gnawed at her chest. She'd wielded revenge like a weapon, and now the blade trembled in her hand. By the next morning's challenge, whispers had crystallized into whispers and accusations. Some contestants saw Chelsea as a heroine who refused to be toyed with. Others branded her ruthless, a woman who had weaponized her own vulnerability. Ricardo offered a cautious smile as he passed her in the hallway. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. She met his eyes and saw genuine concern for more than she'd expected from her strategic ally. She nodded. "I think so," but whether she believed it was another matter. The producers, sensing the ratings goldmine, scheduled a one-on-one interview for her later that afternoon. Chelsea bristled at the idea. She'd never sought the spotlight for this. Yet she also knew how narratives were shaped behind these walls, that silence could be as dangerous as confession. So she agreed, steeling herself to tell her truth. The interview set was stark, just Chelsea on a stool, bright lights overhead, the host's questions muted by the hum of anticipation. "Chelsea," he began, "tonight you held Madison accountable in front of the entire audience. Do you regret how it played out?" She inhaled, remembering the sting of betrayal and the rush of standing her ground. "Regret isn't the word I'd use," she said. "I regret that it got to the point where I felt I had no other choice. But I don't regret standing up for myself." She paused, searching for the courage to voice the unspoken. "I trusted him. I believed that what we had meant something, and I was wrong." The host leaned forward, sensing the vulnerability behind her poise. "What happens now?" she answered without hesitation. "Now I move forward." Later that evening, after confessions and strategy talks, the contestants gathered for the next trial, a daunting obstacle course rumored to test endurance and trust between partners. By now, the producers had spun the Madison scandal into a subplot, but for Chelsea, the real stakes lay elsewhere. She had no partner yet. Anyone who chose her risked being entangled in unresolved tensions. She scanned the room and met Ricardo's steady gaze. He offered a slight nod. When the host beckoned for partner selection, Chelsea stepped forward. "Ricardo," she said firmly, "will you be my partner?" A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd. Few had expected her to pick the reliable strategist over a flashier competitor. Ricardo grinned and fell into step beside her. As they approached the course, the tension between them felt different, free of romance's dangerous charge, grounded instead in mutual respect. The starting horn blared, and they lunged forward as one, scaling walls, swinging from ropes, deciphering hidden codes. Every time Chelsea stumbled, Ricardo was there, offering a steadying hand. Every time Ricardo hesitated at a puzzle, Chelsea's sharp mind cut through the noise. Together they moved with synergy born of trust and unspoken bond forged in adversity. Chelsea felt a surge of pride. She was no longer defined by heartbreak or vengeance, but by her resilience and her capacity for collaboration. Halfway through the course, they reached a suspended bridge, a translucent walkway that swayed above a pit of swirling mist. Ahead, the path narrowed. Behind, a heavy net threatened to ensnare them if they faltered. Chelsea's heart fluttered as she stared down the void. Ricardo placed a hand on her shoulder. "We've got this," he said softly. She took a steadying breath and stepped onto the bridge, the planks creaking beneath them. Each measured foot forward was a small victory over the fear that had gripped her in the days before. She could almost feel Madison's betrayal slipping away with each step, replaced by something steadier, the knowledge that she could rely on someone who'd never lied to her. When they reached the end, the crowd erupted in applause. Chelsea allowed herself a rare, genuine smile as she and Ricardo crossed the finish line in first place. Flashbulbs exploded around them, but she focused only on the way Ricardo's eyes lit up with proud triumph. In that moment, she realized something important. She wasn't defined by the men who hurt her, nor by the vengeance she wrought. She was defined by the choices she made afterward. And so, as the producers ushered her toward another confessional and the next twist loomed on the horizon, Chelsea felt a quiet strength settle in her bones. She was ready for whatever Beyond the Gates threw at her because she knew exactly who she was now, and she would never let anyone else write her story again.